You're in for a treat today, Real Talker. We're going to hear from the famous Garry Vaynerchuk, or also known as Garry Vee. Who wouldn't know about this man who specializes in digital marketing and social media? Well, he's only the chairman of New York's based leading communications company, VaynerX, and CEO of VaynerX subsidiary, VaynerMedia. Though he was first known as a wine critic who expanded his family's wine business, this man won't be called a self-made multimillionaire for nothing. Well, what do you expect from a serial entrepreneur, business consultant, and a CEO? Did you know that aside from the things we have mentioned a while ago, Garry Vee is also an author, a speaker, and an internet personality? He currently has over 12 million followers on social media that is still undeniably growing. He has a popular YouTube show, The Garry Vee Video Experience, and a hit podcast, The Garry Vee Audio Experience. Have you tried watching one of his shows on the YouTube community? Perhaps listen to his podcast. Now that you probably know him, will you sit back, relax, and learn a thing or two from this Belarusian American entrepreneur? What would you pay for 30 minutes of one-on-one conversation with Garry Vee? Luckily for you, Real Talker, we've curated some of the most inspirational tips, advice, and speeches that Garry Vee has shared. Remember that while listening to their knowledge is the first step, the second and possibly more important step is taking action, even if it's imperfect action. Let's listen in.
Here's how I'm going to convince you. This NFT thing is going to be one of the biggest technology shifts in your life. I'll see you in 3 years. I'm not going to sit here and try to explain to you that you don't understand social currency, human behavior, why people wear logos on their clothes, what happens in a digitized world, why people will be curious, like rubbernecking and reality TV and social media, to know what people have bought and ledgered, that the provenance matters incredibly and always has in our society, that eliminating the middle that brings very little value is a good idea, and the internet's been doing it. Technology's been doing that for its entirety as a term. Like I'm not gonna do that for you. I don't need to do that for you. It's just gonna play out. Why did chiefs and Indians and cavemen paint their faces with colors and have skins that were like, this has been going on. This is a foregone conclusion. So here's my rant, and I'll see you in 3 years. I don't care if you buy an NFT. I just don't care.
That's okay if we collectively understand it, right? We have to understand that there's amazing things going on here, but let there be no confusion. 90% of the people currently in our space are in the business of day trading NFTs to make a bag. And that's okay, but we have to understand it. It's also dangerous. We have to understand it.
Different question entirely. Totally kind of a bit of a shift here. You know, I think a lot about how this will change the way economies work on a kind of a macro scale. You know, any thoughts on that in regards to, you know,
big time.
You know, this kind of changing the way we
I think I will become a central bank. Mm-hmm. I think humans will have economies built around them because of access and metadata.
Mm-hmm. How does that work in our current system without there being a huge conflict? Or is that inevitable?
I mean, if you're going super macro with me around like cryptocurrency and NFTs versus, you know, sovereign nations,
versus, I think, like, it's, say, fiat money versus.
Oh, I think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I think that there's inevitable regulation that is overbearing, and it will depend on how big the movement is at the time to see what the counter reaction is. I mean, I think the stakes are high. If you believe that Bitcoin wins, then you believe in the massive lack of leverage of sovereign nations.
Mm-hmm. Or that they just rush in and they try to have their own little hash war going on and try to accumulate as much as they can, right? If they're
going to do that. I mean, Germany, I feel like, is my prediction to go first. Like, I think, they're gonna.
Why Germany in particular?
By the way, when I say complete intuitive wild guess of like, I always think about who's incentivized but big enough.
See, because I would lean towards, say, something like, say, Iran or something like that.
They already kind of have their own control if you think about it. If you think of Germany as a major player in Europe, where Europe is now kind of like a third player in the world behind the US and China, it's almost like they're incentivized to do a move to almost like re-energize, because don't forget, that's the part of the world that was number one. And I always think there's some underlying tension when you lose your spot. I think America losing to China in that global leader over the next 100 years will be like an interesting underlying resentment, the way that London and Germany look at the US. And so I don't know, I've always had this weird feeling in my own game of chess in my head that if there was a place that would do this first and most meaningful, but that was big enough to actually matter. So that's always been my hot guess. And to be thoughtful on the investing side, I do think people need to be very careful. There's gonna be 1 trillion projects and there's only so much demand. And right now, a lot of the demand is from people that are financially incentivized. They don't really care about it. They're gonna buy this thing because they think in a week it's gonna be this much. And that's okay, I don't judge that. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a capitalist, in the good sense of the world, meaning I want it to be fair. That's why I love a lot about this. I think it's pure capitalism, like there's actually a game of who is good, not let's rig the game. And so-
It's a meritocracy, yeah?
It's a meritocracy, that's such a good point. I just would tell people be thoughtful, because when it crashes or goes down, it'll hurt. It'll be fast, it'll be hard to liquidate. There's not enough underlying demand to carry what's going on. And so you have speculation at scale. Buy what you like, or really do homework on things you genuinely believe are gonna work. For example, every great IP, Darren, that's about to come out, whether it's Star Wars or Star Trek or Alf or Smurfs or whatever, right? I'm gonna look very carefully on how they built it. Because I can't just say, oh, the Pokemon thing's gonna crush, because it's Pokemon. If it's sloppy and not thoughtful, the dynamics won't play out to make it a good quote unquote investment.
Yeah.
And why are you leading this charge into NFTs?
The reason is because it's time. It's just time. There's so many real OGs that have led us here. I think a guy like me represents a different thing, which is the next moment. At least the way I move, need it to be like on the precipice of mainstream. There's enough smoke. People are getting enough comfort with it, right? Top Shot deserves a ton of credit. Sports cards deserve a lot of credit. Reddit, Doge, Bitcoin. And let me go another place. How about Fortnite? I'm in the business of helping people understand things. Let me tell you when I went bananas and why. My brain decided to tell me, oh my God, everyone's gonna have a public digital wallet. Social's going private, crypto's going public. There's an internet at scale now supporting communication around the blockchain. From a big brand perspective, Todd, when you first heard about NFTs, as a dude, and I think you're very on the pulse, both of you are, hence why I wanted you here, but how did it first land? Did you have the cynical point of view of I don't get it, why would somebody own it? Did it immediately hit? Where did you go the first time you kind of understood this thing is happening?
Yeah, I think like all of you here, you see the potential for it. You see, hey, this will be the DMV years from now, the ticket, all the different applications of the technology. But then you also look at it, again, as a marketer, consumer first, and I look at the experience right now that it's so early days. The consumer experience is actually pretty clunky, right? You got to register for a digital wallet, you got to give all this personal information, you got gas fees, you got all this conversion, all these steps that as this begins to tip, that will hopefully all converge and become much more useful. But as a brand, we got to get deeper into it and really understand kind of the intricacies and why people are doing it. We're starting to really, delve into the space. So.
Will I be able to in the future buy a token that allows me to perform in the Pepsi halftime Super Bowl show?
That idea of what I love is the connection to real life experiences. When you think of the idea of brands and how people connect to different brands, and I think as you were saying, the different affinities people have, sports, music, entertainment, the utility that it gets in your everyday life. There's a ton of possibilities as we look at kind of how we would want to connect with consumers in this space. And so I think we're trying to be really, think about it the right way and not just rush in and just say, hey, here's an NFT, look, we did one, but really strategically figure out what's kind of the long play. How do we want to get into space authentically? How do we want to really just 1, 2, 3 and kind of step in there? Because I think, to your point, while there of course is money to be made and there's the whole transactional piece, as far as brand building as well, that's another big benefit to us as well, beyond kind of the financial, piece as well. When you look at the scale, that's actually even more beneficial to us in the near term.
Given that both of you were in the marketing game, I think, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure about this, do you have more confidence that you can enter the space more authentically because you learned through the trials and tribulations of that hard transition from Web 1 to Web 2, traditional media to social? Do you feel the companies of your size have more confidence of, hey, this is what happened and we misplayed social if we look back at 6 and 7? Do you feel that gives you a leg up to play 3 better than 2?
I think just to answer your question too, I look at the parallels from, I remember when the big first, Web 2.0 happened and all this, and just, there were a lot of executives and people in the company who are like, they're saying something bad about us on Facebook. It's like, you clearly don't get it, right? So it's how you educate, when you think of the disruption that's happened and how quickly, the fact that TikTok is only a few years old, the fact that all these things are coming so quickly, I think there's an acknowledgement from a lot of the big companies like ours that, shit, we don't know, but we know this is going to be a thing, so let's hunker down, let's get our legal team, our finance team, how the hell do we convert Ethereum, all of that stuff that just big companies have to wrestle with. But I think there's a lot more willingness to kind of dive in than I'd say some of the early day stuff.
Given that it's Pepsi and Budweiser, Super Bowl, World Cup, halftime show, how is this framework going to affect the way you look at sponsorships, and maybe even more importantly, how you look at the humans that you do brand deals with?
Right now, as you look at brands, if we're making a TV commercial, if we're signing someone, it's a transactional one way. I'm going to pay person X, they're going to provide Y service, we're going to both hopefully benefit in that regard. This is a game changer to a partnership where it's like, hey, we can both come out of this, both building equity, making money, doing, positive things for consumers, all in the same way if we build it correctly together. So I do think there's going to be a future where, it's more of a symbiotic relationship as we get to partners and things like that.
You should definitely get in understanding around NFTs because it will affect all your businesses. Now, that doesn't mean go buy the collectibles and the art on NFTs, but what's called the ledger, the blockchain, smart contracts. This is something people need to know. Everybody here should spend 20 hours of reading or watching YouTube videos or listening to Clubhouse. Get educated. Don't get caught up in the gold rush. It's going to be just like 99, 2000. Internet. And what did most people do? They bought internet stocks. They bought them at 60. They went to 200. They thought they were geniuses. And then literally in 2 weeks, they all went to $1. Why? Because everything was too frothy on the hype. It wasn't practical. And both were right. It was too frothy, and that's why it should have went to $1. But the internet was the biggest technology change of our society in a long time. Same with NFTs. Non-fungible tokens built on the blockchain, often on blockchains like Ethereum, but others, Flow, others, are the biggest shift in our universe in a long time. And people will do their mortgages on it. They'll do their book releases on it. Your next book is going to be an NFT that comes with the book. It's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming. I know most of the people don't even know what I'm talking about right now. That's the one to not bet against. I'm very bullish on it. I believe in it. But as you can see, I gave you the caveats of where there's going to be some Beanie Babies like activities in the short term. But in the long term, there's going to be some real business opportunities.
Absolutely. So let's talk about social media. Like, I never see anybody post as much as you. It's incredible. You're inspiring to so many people. What's the advice to the business owner who maybe isn't doing any regular posts on social media? What is it that they're missing out on?
Opportunity. It's not like a necessity. You're missing out on opportunity, not necessity. You're just leaving business growth on the table.
And
what okay.
So what would be, let's say 2 things that each business owner should do with social media tomorrow to optimize this opportunity?
One is very macro, one's very micro. I'll start with micro. Everybody here watching this right now should be posting 2 original pieces of content on LinkedIn every day. LinkedIn is a gold mine right now with organic reach. You don't even have to pay for the ads. It reaches people. and everybody in this business community can really benefit from it. And it's kind of like Facebook was in 2012. It's a gold mine of organic reach. Organic reach, for everybody's understanding, means when you just post and just people see it. You don't have to pay for it. Some of you here who did well with Facebook pages know exactly what I'm talking about. 7 years ago, you'd post hundreds of thousands. Today, thousands. It's not as good. You have to spend money now to get more. That's not bad that Facebook did that. That's called supply and demand. There's more ads. There's less people consuming. Supply and demand. LinkedIn is still here. Don't do it. Don't start when it's here. Do it right now. That's the micro. The macro is self-awareness. Most people don't social media produce because they haven't figured out what they're best at. Audio, video, or written word. People think everything has to be video. It doesn't. If you're a great writer, write your little heart out. If you want to take a picture to give a little color and then write, then do that. If you have the gift of gab, you should definitely do audio and video because it does go further. But it doesn't mean written word or pictures don't. People have not been playing this self-awareness game of what am I good at enough, and that's the other big part. How do you communicate well? I think brand building on social is still an unknown art. Doing brand work there every day, that's where brand is being built because that's where the eyeballs are. I think OTT, Hulu, Roku, Amazon Prime, ads, it's taking away from television is a very big space. I think influencers continues to be a big space. I think NFT projects will emerge as a big space in the next decade.
So when I ask you this question, I'm just genuinely interested because I think you're gonna have an interesting observation. What is the current state of the NFT art market from your perspective?
I think what is probably different for me than a lot of other maybe artists or people in the space is I think I have more of a healthy dose of skepticism than most people. And so I'm always trying to, like, this is too good to be true because it feels very much too good to be true. I'm always waiting for it to be like, JPEGs, just kidding, they're not worth anything. What were you thinking? Like, and because for a long time, they weren't worth anything. And so all of a sudden it was just like, wait, now people are paying for this shit? And it's like, wait, what the fuck? Like,
when you make that statement, is there a part of you that knows that it's not like just kidding, the whole thing goes away forever? But is there a part of you that does believe that it's a gold rush and it's similar to things we've seen in the past where right now it's so fever pitch, there'll need to be a correction and they'll come back later on?
I would say there are certain projects that I would be surprised if they stand the test of time.
Like what?
Not V friends. I think it's one of those things where nobody fucking knows. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I fucking know. And anybody who's telling you what the space is gonna look like in 5-10 years, they don't fucking know. And that's what makes it interesting, and that's what makes it exciting. But I think, as long as you're sort of investing in creators and teams that, you believe are going to sort of be around for the long term, because I think it's very easy to make promises, and it's fucking free to make promises. Oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but are you? Because at the end of the day, if you don't, then the thing is not going to be worth shit.
Yes.
And so it's not hard for me because at the end of the day, I was doing this for free for 20 years. I was getting up and trying really fucking hard to make digital art the best I could for 20 years. Before anybody gave a shit, before anybody would pay for it. And that's where it feels too good to be true, because it's sort of like I'd already seen, again, I was pretty popular before this in terms of, the digital art community and this or that. And so I'd already seen a bunch of benefits from doing that. And so that's where it was like, wait, so now people are going to pay a lot more money for it? And so I think at the end of the day, all I can do is get up and try really fucking hard. And that's it. And that's what I was doing before. And that's what I'm doing now. And so I know I'm trying way harder now too. And so that's it. That's all anybody can do.
Let's talk about NFT.
NFTs. My favorite new topic.
I'm so obsessed too. I'm spending a ton of time on this. In my own brain.
So for people that don't know what NFTs are, right? Non-fungible tokens. These are one of the great parts about the whole crypto space, the blockchain space. Satoshi's white paper is that it was the first digital signature that you couldn't counterfeit. So think about what that means. You can make digital art that no one can counterfeit. And so all of a sudden, art gets its value from scarce. The blockchain allows you to do that. So now we're going to see artists, for the first time ever, create art digitally, right? The great artists. They never did before. So you're going to sell digital art. You're going to actually take your phone. You're going to buy it. It's going to go on your phone. You're going to walk home and you're going to throw it up on a giant screen. And you're like, that's mine. No one else owns that thing. That's mine. And so we're going to have collectibles. They're going to create new collectibles,
100%.
right? There's going to be, instead of baseball cards that
Well,
are...
there's NBA Top Shop. They're so rare.
Top
It's
Shop's
happening
blowing
already.
up all of a sudden.
Looking at it every day.
And so then there are going to be fractional things that get sold.
Well, that's what's happening. The fractionalization of physical things is a game changer. The reason Michael Jordan's rookie card is going to $1 million.
Because you can sell 100...
Correct.
Yes.
Because Kenny and Stefan actually want it. I know they do. But they're not dropping $350,000 on a single sports card.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
And I know them. But would they drop $350 if they knew it was going to $1 million? That's no different than buying a little Tesla and Apple stock. The fractionalization of sports cards is going to get that market insane on the tippy top.
And so, and you're going to fractionalize jerseys. You're going to fractionalize cars. You're going to fractionalize all kinds of
memorabilia is going to follow
But
fast.
even bigger than that are going to be these NFTs. You're going to have
I agree.
the Super Bowl. We're going to have Mahomes, and I'm going to have an artist do a painting, a digital painting of him, and a rapper, sing a little song behind him, and then he's going to be up there. And you're going to sell that little clip from the Super Bowl done by Chase Hall or whoever the artist is, and people are going to be like, "Dude, there's only 10 of those," and they're going to buy them, and they're going to keep.
I think people need to know how to showcase them.
Yeah.
The missing piece, just for the record, because I want to clip this one day and say, you know how I like to do my content. In 9 years, I'll clip this and be like, see, told you. You're 100% right in one other man's humble opinion. Why artworks is high net worth individuals buy a piece of art, and whether they put it in a Moroccan, warehouse, or whether they put it in their Upper West Side apartment, or whether they have a show that they donated to something, they're able to,
display it. They're going to be
and
really
the reason
cool.
sports cards is because you take a selfie and put it on Instagram. We love to flex. I'm waiting to understand the flexization of the NFT, and as soon as I understand it,
it's coming.
Oh, I'm the least confused of all time.
So when you think about NFTs, you mentioned digital scarcity, NFTs. What's going on in that space? It's really early, as you mentioned. I think it's a great area for people to really get tapped into, do some research. What are you seeing? Where can people start to learn a little bit more about that space?
If you just go to the hashtag NFT on Twitter right now, there's an incredible amount of information. Beeple, the artist, just Google search what he's up to with Christie's. This is, for me personally, this may be the space that is the manifestation of my life. Supply and demand, scarcity, trading, IP. If you want to talk about something to pay attention to, the IP wars for NFT rights are going to be remarkably interesting. And just the fact that we're living in a digital world. What's a blue check verification worth to a lot of people in the world today? Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, quite a bit. And I think with the rise of VR, you can really start to understand why these NFTs have a real shot. And I think that NFT is going to be something coming out of a lot of people's mouths on this program over the next half decade. Estimating what digital ownership means. No different than I think people underestimated what having a social media account meant. I don't think, and you know this, we're both of the age where a human having a social media account was foreign. That was not something people did. And today, most people do, even if they have it anonymously to keep tabs on people, or use Twitter to keep up with the news, or occasionally check Facebook for, birthdays. A shocking amount of society is active on social, and even bigger percentages consuming it. And I don't, as somebody who was there in 2005, 6, 7, people didn't see it that way. They saw it as for kids. They saw it as, who cares if you're having a piece of pizza or walking the dog? And I think the exact same thing is happening right now in NFT land. I think people are misunderstanding why everyone's going to want to own something digitally. You have all these cool things behind you as we're filming this. There's a reason you want those things. Expressing yourself, decorating your home, a memory to something. There's a million different investment scenarios. And I think that people don't understand that NFTs represent many things. But from an investment standpoint, people want to have digital assets and they're going to trade those digital assets. I also think it goes beyond that. I think the reason somebody owns a Rolex versus a regular watch, a pair of Nikes besides a regular joggers, a Mercedes-Benz instead of a Ford, is because of status and expressionism. And then there's the overarching aspect that it is a public, transparent ledger confirmed with no cost association in comparison to leases and mortgages and all the other things. And so to me, this is a foregone conclusion. To me, it's similar to 95 internet life though. I think much like we saw on the internet, there was a lot of public stocks that made no sense, that were worth a lot of money. Pets.com becoming the poster child. And I think the same thing's happening in NFT project land. I think the NFT thing's gonna happen, and I want VeeFriends to be Amazon, or at least eBay, right? And they were there as dollar stocks back when everything crashed. And I think the same thing's happening in NFT land. The macro concept is here in perpetuity. On the micro, I do believe we're in a gold rush moment right now, and there are a lot of people buying NFTs that will not be as valuable as they pay for them. And that's a treacherous thing to navigate through. The macro's right, and there's an Amazon and eBay out there. Oh, by the way, 8 out of 10 of them are pets.com. How are you gonna figure that out? There's a lot of ways to play it. If you're high risk, high reward, you're buying the individual stuff. If you're a little bit different, you're looking at the whole landscape and deciding where you wanna be a participant, selling the shovels and the picks, buying individual projects. For example, I've spent a lot of money on CryptoPunks, and I feel like it's my most safe investment I own. Really, genuinely. I'm that convinced that that project, the OG project, the one that kind of established the 10,000 images framework, the one that is owned by many important people and collectors, is incredibly sound. And I think the bottom floor of that is $400,000 a piece right now. People don't understand the concept of owning something digitally. Like, you couldn't do that on the internet. And now you can, and it can be proved, and you can't right click it and save it and all the jokes that people make, and it will happen. And so, but what's interesting about it is every NFT has the ability to also be a contract. By nature, it's a contract. I own this is mine. But you can do more things on it. So, for example, influencers, I think, are gonna really create collectibles and pieces of art that also underneath in the contract have access, whether virtually or in person. So you don't need to be a millionaire like Fowocious and Xcopy and Beeple. If you're watching right now, wouldn't you love to just make art full time and have a roof over your head? And that's amazing that you can do that now, because it wasn't easy to make $50,000 in sales in art just 2 years ago, and now it's obtainable. And the biggest vulnerability in this space, which is people love to say things like it's about the art and about the community. Let there be no confusion. 90% of the behavior in our space right now is about short-term money, and it is the vulnerability.
Yes.
Everybody complaining about things, if you look very carefully, it means it fucked up with their short-term bag. You forget about me. Everybody on the other side here, you first know yourself. This is a game of self-awareness. And then you filter good advice. I caught the tail end of your last thing. I was like, ooh, I gotta give this guy some credit. That raise your price advice is such a good one, because it always works out. Because the downside is people say no and nothing bad happened. And the upside is 86% of the people that are gonna do it, that just heard you, all of them are gonna get some level of increase. It's one of these amazing games of perception. So I know I've gone long-winded because I love to give some context, but clear it up for me so I can definitely answer your question. But the way I think about things is actually opposite sides. Very, very safe. I'm stunned by how many people go fully into debt, have no cash reserves. If everything goes to shit, don't have some money to at least rent an apartment and live life. And then on the flip side, I go with my strengths. I understand NFTs better than I understand real estate. Think about that for a minute. I understand how to invest in NFTs right this minute better than I know how to invest in real estate.
Wasn't that amazing? What did you think of these opportunities, advantage, and possible projects that could turn into millions? Are you ready for the next big step in the internet? How well do you understand everything from Garry Vee himself? Are you as excited as us to get things started? Well, we don't want you to miss these opportunities. You know, you can be the next self-made millionaire we can feature here on our channel. Who knows? Success is in your hands after watching this video. You already know what you need to know about NFTs in this video, so leave a comment below and let us know which tip you're going to implement right now, starting today. That's it for today's video, Real Talker. Remember to subscribe to our channel, and if you feel like we've delivered value, please share this video with one person. That's right, just one person, as a token of your appreciation for the hard work we put into making content that educates and helps you on your mission of building your own fortune. Remember, you can watch video after video, but it isn't until you actually take action that you'll start to see results. See you soon!